So, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with you all tonight. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about sleep hygiene. So, it's often said that as we age, we need less and less sleep in terms of the number of hours that we get. However, this is just not true. Just as with most stages of adulthood, older adults still need 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. And honestly, the only time that this really changes throughout our lifespan is when we're little babies and we need much more than that. But throughout the most of adulthood, 7 to 8 hours of sleep is what's necessary, sometimes even 9. And though the number of hours of sleep that we get, that we need doesn't change, the quality of sleep unfortunately often does decrease as we age. Now, this can be due to a multitude of factors, including chronic conditions, medications, and poor sleep hygiene. And just a few such conditions include lung disease, heart disease, and arthritis. And this can be due to things like pain during the night or just like the physical symptoms of these conditions. And then some medications that could interfere with sleep include corticosteroids, diuretics, and even antidepressants. And not just the quality of our sleep changes as we age, but also the structure of our sleep changes as well. So, what that means is that older adults often spend less time in deep sleep and more time in lighter sleep. And in addition to that, sleep latency, or the amount of time that it takes to fall asleep, increases with age, while melatonin secretion decreases. And melatonin is the hormone that controls the sleep-wake cycle. So when it's decreased, there may be a difficulty remaining asleep, there may be increased nighttime awakenings, and there also may be increased sleep fragmentation. And as a result of these things, you can wake up feeling extremely exhausted. You may feel daytime sleepiness, could have poorer functional abilities, and possibly even increase your risk of falls and injuries. And even more insidiously, it can cause cognitive deficits over time, of course, not just with 1 or 2 poor sleeps, increased anxiety and depression, and also increased morbidity and mortality. So as you can see, it's important to maintain good sleep because it helps to improve concentration, it helps with memory formation, and it allows your body to repair damage to cells that occurred during the day, as well as invigorates your immune system to help you fight off infections and a whole host of other things. So, to start the topic of sleep hygiene, we can talk about some things that it's better to avoid near bedtime. So one of the perhaps surprising things to avoid is alcohol. And while it does help you to relax and it does help you to fall asleep, and it can act as a downer in the first little bit after ingestion, a few hours later, it actually has the opposite effects and it acts as an upper and it actually disrupts your sleep and can result in a restless night's sleep. And the same is true of nicotine and caffeine as well. And so this is why you shouldn't smoke or drink coffee too close to bedtime either. So any coffee within 6 hours of sleep should probably be avoided because this is about how long it takes for your body to metabolize about the amount of caffeine to about half. But if we want to be on the safe side, 10 hours before bed would be best to avoid caffeine. And then a similar concept applies to heavy meals. So it would be best to avoid them within 3 to 4 hours of sleeping because this can cause discomfort, it can cause gas, and it can cause acid reflux that may wake you in the middle of the night. And this is also true for spicy foods. And then also fluids. Fluids should be limited very close to bedtime because it may cause you to need to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and you might find it difficult to get back asleep after. And then moving on to artificial lights. So this could be from your phone, from an iPad, from your TV, from an electronic reader. Any of these things give off artificial lights that actually interfere with your body's natural production of melatonin. So your body will naturally produce it cyclically, so as to make you fall asleep during the night. And so putting away your electronics 1 to 2 hours before bed would be ideal. And if this is something that's hard to do, or maybe you want to take baby steps, you could always wear blue light blocking glasses. So this is meant to block that artificial light that's given off by these electronics. And you can get those on Amazon and probably a whole host of other places as well. So that's just a little extra tip if you find it hard to get away from your phone or TV at night, as I kind of do. And then lastly, one last thing to avoid would be actually napping during the day. So this can be challenging, especially in the beginning if you're trying hard to change your sleep pattern. But daytime napping will only make you more energized at night. Thus, it'll make it harder to fall asleep. But if you do really need to squeeze in a daytime nap, however, then it's ideal to keep it under 30 minutes. Naps under 30 minutes will refresh you, energize you, without making you groggy, and without giving you so much rest that you won't be able to sleep at night. Yeah, so an e-reader could be an issue. It depends which ones, but a lot of them do have these backlights that, of course, make it easier to read at night or with the lights off. And while that's great for reading, it could be counterproductive for your sleeping. So now that we've spoken about some things to avoid, we can speak about some things to actually implement. So one of the first parts of optimizing your sleep hygiene is to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every day. And in doing so, your body will adjust its circadian rhythm and hormone cycles to these hours, and you'll be more likely to get restful sleep during these hours. Ideally, this would be on the weekends too, although it's a little bit harder to do in practice. And then it's also vital to create a restful sleep environment for yourself. So things like noise level, lighting, and bedroom temperature can all impede a good night's sleep if they're not in the optimal range. So what you can do for that is, of course, sleep with earplugs, sleep in a quiet room, sleep with an eye mask to avoid getting any light in your eyes, and also set the thermostat 1 or 2 degrees lower than it is in the daytime to put your body in like a sleeping mood. And then, like I said earlier, it's helpful to put your phone away, and instead you can opt for a relaxing activity. And this could be anything. This could include light stretching, it could include journaling, reading a book, taking a warm bath, aromatherapy. Honestly, the list is endless, and it's whatever you like to do. And then you can even combine these things. So you could take a book with you into the bath while you have an aromatherapy candle or an aromatherapy diffuser on. And not only is it relaxing, but these activities can also help you manage stress levels, which of course is another barrier to restful sleep. And then of great importance is exercising. So not only is it a great way to manage stress and promote sleepiness, but it's also a great way to maintain optimal health at the same time. Now, that being said, it's best to exercise early in the day as opposed to nighttime because it'll give you energy that may stop you from falling asleep, actually. And then now we can move on to the actual environment, so your bedroom environment. So one thing to note is that it's important that your bedroom only be used for sleep. Now, this can be tough. I know some of us like to eat in our rooms or watch movies in our rooms or do whatever else in our rooms, but really the bedroom should just be for sleeping. This is because your brain makes associations with the activities that happen in the various locations of your house. And so again, if you were to exercise or eat in your bedroom, your brain is going to associate these wakeful activities with your bed and your bedroom. And then next time you want to get into your bed or go to your bedroom to sleep, it's going to make it harder for you to sleep. And if you do find it hard to sleep and you can't get to bed after about 30 minutes of rolling around and being in bed, it's actually better to get up, leave your bedroom, and go do something else. So this may seem counterintuitive, and it may seem like you may lose sleep if you get up, but it's actually a really important component of cognitive behavioral therapy for sleep. And again, this is because you don't want to associate being up all night or not being able to fall asleep with your bed. Your brain is going to make these same associations again. So it's actually best to leave and do some relaxing activity and then come back and try again. And also, if this does happen, this is a great time to practice those mindfulness and meditation techniques that we spoke about a few weeks ago. And try to see relaxation as the goal instead of falling asleep. Because when you do that, you'll also help fight off the stress and frustration that often comes with being unable to fall asleep. And the same is true not just if you're having trouble falling asleep, but if you wake up in the middle of the night, which does happen. Again, employ those same breathing techniques, try your best to relax, and if you can't fall asleep within 30 minutes again, like I said, leave your bedroom, do something else, and come back. And yes, oh, me too. I love those stories on the Calm app, and that's something that you can use, whether it's to get to sleep or if you wake up in the middle of the night and you want to get back to sleep. The stories on Calm app are great for that, and they have a lot of great breathing exercises for that. So it's important to note for those with more severe sleep problems, that sleep hygiene is not the end-all be-all. It might not fix the problem entirely. There may be a lot more things going on. You might need sleep medications, you might need a sleep study, you might need to go see a sleep specialist. And it might be a more complex problem if it's from other conditions, if it's from pain, or if it's from certain life stressors. But that being said, it still is a good first step towards creating a good bedtime routine and having restful sleep. And it's always good to create that routine anyway. Yes, that is a great idea. Grabbing a book in the middle of the night is a great way to try to get back to sleep if you can't. As long as, again, you're not turning on all the lights because that will disrupt those hormone cycles that I was talking about, and it will result in more wakefulness than it will in sleepiness. But again, with a dimly lit light, if you can't fall asleep, grabbing a book to read is a wonderful idea. Now, I also want to point out that I mentioned so many aspects of creating a good bedtime routine, and you don't have to implement them all at once, or you don't have to implement them all ever. Maybe you just pick one, maybe you pick a combination, but honestly, it's up to you. You can pick and choose the ones that are relevant to you, the ones that are most helpful to you, and implement them in some combination slowly that is manageable for you. Because I said so many things that can seem extremely overwhelming. Don't eat at a certain time, don't drink coffee, don't eat this, don't do that. So it can be overwhelming, but just do the ones that are perhaps most problematic to you or you think you would reap the most benefit from, and then implement those slowly over time to create a habit and to create that routine. So just to give you an example, I wanted to share my bedtime routine that promotes good sleep hygiene for me. So the first thing I do is my skincare routine, many steps. And so to keep it kind of interesting, I listen to a chapter of my audiobook while I'm doing my skincare routine. And so for me, that is my relaxing activity. And then I make a to-do list of all the things that I have to do for the next day. Because if I don't do this, I'm going to be tossing and turning in bed, hoping I don't forget all these things I have to do, trying to remember them, and it's just adding to my stress. And so I write that to-do list before I even get into bed so that it's not on my mind when I am in bed. And again, that's my way of managing my stress levels. And then, just like I mentioned, I turn down the thermostat a couple degrees because sleeping in cool actually promotes a better night's sleep. I close the curtains, I darken my room in the time leading up to sleep. And then when I am sleeping, I use both earplugs and an eye mask. And for me, that's my way of optimizing my sleep environment because I'm ensuring that any loud noise or any bright light doesn't affect me. And then lastly, I practice 5 to 10 minutes of deep breathing right before I go to bed. And again, I use that Calm app that was previously mentioned. And so that's my sleep routine. And as you can see, it's not a very complicated routine at all. It doesn't take me like hours upon hours. But for me, having this routine increases my chances of having a good night's sleep. And it's a great habit to build. And then likewise, I also wake up in the middle of the night. The sleep routine is not perfect. And so I employ the same techniques. I listen to another story from the Calm app. I try my deep breathing exercises. And then if that doesn't work within 20 to 30 minutes, I get up and go do something and I come back. So that is all for tonight. That is my tips and tricks for creating a good bedtime routine. I would love to hear if anybody has any tips and tricks for me. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you do that maybe I should try? I would love to hear that if you do. Books and e-reader, yeah, that's a popular one. And a great way to fall back asleep. Well, perhaps since no one has any other tips and tricks for me, perhaps I covered a good amount of them. And yeah, I hope that even from tonight, you start implementing some of these, and I hope that when you do, you start seeing some changes. I know that I did. It did take a little bit of time for me to get used to it, especially trying to put my phone away within like an hour of bed. That's been a tough one that I'm still working on. But I hope we're all trying to build our routine, or we're all building upon our already existing routine, and that we reap the benefits of this because, yes, like someone said, this is such an important topic, and it's unbelievable how much sleep impacts our health. Okay, so if no one has any other questions or any other comments, then I will be logging off for the night. And again, thank you everyone so much for your time. Thank you all for coming. And I wish everyone a very restful sleep tonight. Thank you all. Good night.